Do you crave better self-esteem and confidence, but struggle to silence your anxiety, fears, and insecurities? If so, welcome to the sisterhood of fellow travelers on the path to reclaiming their self-confidence and happiness. I'm Jennifer DeBellis, award-winning author, speaker, and assault survivor. I spent the past few decades helping young women like you overcome fear, self-doubt, and trauma to reclaim their joy and self-worth. I cannot wait to share the secrets I learned on my own healing journey and help you restore your inner warrior as I show you the skills and tools you need to save your own broken world. If you're ready to empower your inner warrior to overcome fear, doubt, and anxiety, turn off those distractions and tune in to this episode. If this podcast inspired you, consider leaving a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. And also, join my free Facebook community of women just like you that restore your inner warrior sisterhood. Here's a safe space to get tips, share stories, and find community support. Today, we're going to continue on our journey that leads to improved self-worth and confidence. I know how real the struggle is to confront and overcome fear, self-doubt, and insecurity. As I mentioned in the previous episode, you really do hold the power to conquer these struggles, and you're just steps away from learning how and what to do next. I put together this Restore Your Inner Warrior series with power-packed tools that will help you strengthen your inner warrior and overcome the things holding you back from living your best life. If you're ready to boldly step into a life of happiness and confidence, turn off those distractions running in the background so you can supercharge your healing journey with this next episode. And welcome back to all my listeners already walking with me down this restoration path. Last time we explored the first secret of building and restoring your confidence, value, and purpose as you heal internally. The second episode in a 5-part series is dedicated to secret number 2. That it's okay and necessary to wrestle with life's complexities and grit as you allow yourself to feel your emotions and acknowledge and navigate your struggles and the grief it evokes through self-guided processes and through a variety of outside support systems. Next week, we'll dive into the remaining 3 secrets that help you restore your inner warrior, which are to embrace your overcomer mindset, face the giants named fear and doubt, and cut yourself free from the dead weight holding you back from living your best life. So let's continue to dissect how to heal those inner wounds. I want you to imagine for a moment what it will feel like after you transform into the version of yourself you dream of being. Close your eyes and really picture it. What do you see as your end game? You need to see it and to believe that it's achievable. You can't start any of the steps or continue on your healing journey if you don't imagine what you're working toward. And in some instances, like what we're talking about here today, you must be willing to wrestle with the messy layers of your internal brokenness. To do this, we need to talk more about how to restore your inner warrior and become the hero who saves your own broken world. Because at the beginning of each day, it's up to you alone to deal with your internal issues. You hold all the power and responsibility here. Even if you're a faith-filled person like I am, you cannot pray away your struggles and expect God or anyone on this planet to miraculously fix your internal world. Yes, miracles do happen and things just magically work out sometimes, but they're the exception and not the norm. We have to put in the work, period. There's no way around it. And people like therapists and those we confide in and trust can give us tools and strategies we need to do this work ourselves. So I'm not saying you shouldn't rely on your faith and a strong support system as you wrestle with these complexities and grit. I'm saying you have to be an active participant and do the hard and necessary work to become a better version of yourself. Our struggles are the very things that shape our character and allow us to grow into these versions. If neglected and ignored, they will shape us into versions of ourselves we probably don't want it to be. While we can't control what has happened to us, we can control our healing process and how we rebuild ourselves moving forward from the inside out. Remember, allowing ourselves to work through our internal wounds is exactly how we repair and restore our inner world. The trick is to keep our eyes off of what happened to us and to stay focused on what we need to do moving forward as we wrestle with life's complexities and gritty stuff. This is a key to restoring our inner warrior and rebuilding our confidence, or maybe building confidence for the first time. If all this warrior talk has you thinking about battles, good. I like the warrior analogy because it reminds us that sometimes we have to get in there and we have to fight for ourselves. In many of these battles, fear is on the front lines. Better yet, fear is the battle before us, the real enemy. Remember, though, there's a difference between fearlessness and doing things in the face of fear, despite the fear. Even doing it to defy those raised hairs on the back of your neck. Last episode, I likened this fear sense as a warning symbol that goes off on your car dashboard, and it tells you you must proceed with caution or you need to deal with something before you can proceed at all. I want to point out that this isn't going to be another butterfly and rainbows message, though butterflies are in this one. I'm sure you've heard your fair share of these butterfly and rainbow messages with their silver lining while completely dismissing all the bad details and how they have impacted you. I hate those messages. I'm sure you hate them too. They're counterintuitive. Again, what we do with the bad things is what shapes us, what makes us a beautiful and powerful character in our own life story. Last episode, I shared one of my favorite Rumi quotes, which is that the wound is the place where the light enters you. Our flawed parts are the places light gets in, not the perfect spots, like a lot of times we think we should only project that perfect stuff when we have it all together. If you tuned in to that first episode in the series, you heard the story about how I survived a motorcycle accident just 4 weeks before my wedding. One moment I felt free and happy as I took in the sights on a beautiful summer day and dreamt about the new beginning I was about to start with my soon-to-be husband. Little did I know until moments later, when my nightmare began, how different and difficult this new beginning would be. My left shoulder and neck were severely damaged after I bounced and landed over 100 feet from where the car hit us. My skin on half of my back and left arm was completely gone. It took doctors 8.5 hours to carefully remove all of the road rash with a steel wire brush and tweezers. Ouch. Yeah, it was painful. It felt like an eternity as they worked on me. But I knew I needed to grow new skin, and I didn't want this new skin to be covered with ugly scars. So, beyond cleaning my wounds so they wouldn't get infected, I wanted to make sure none of that broken gravel, glass, or dirt was left behind as permanent reminders. I also was meticulous about my outpatient whirlpool treatments and my at-home care. I even researched and took supplements to help my skin grow quicker and healthier. All these things did, in fact, help me grow new skin in time to wear my wedding dress and walk down the aisle as planned. And years later, I don't have any scars, which is a pretty amazing testimony to the power in doing your part to manage your healing process. Ultimately, I looked forward to the outcome I desired and focused on allowing myself to go through every necessary healing process to achieve these results. This same mindset is exactly what I practiced in my emotional healing, which I hope you will apply along your healing journey as well. I had to learn how to apply this healing mindset in real time, though, as I began my difficult emotional healing journey. After the accident, I wasn't able to distract myself by staying busy. Now that I had all this extra time alone with myself without distractions, I could no longer hide from my past trauma, my fears, my insecurities, and all the self-doubts that they brought along with them, and I couldn't pretend that none of these things existed. My physical therapist recommended that I see a psychotherapist for some of these issues, but I didn't have much success with that at the time. What I did gain from this experience was knowledge about Kubler-Ross's 5 stages of grief. Some of these grief stages aligned with my own and others didn't. Yet finding this resource was seriously one of the most life-changing things I had ever experienced, because for the first time, I was seeing trauma connected to the grieving process, and being able to see this and then practice it changed the way that I navigate any of the struggles or issues in my life, even the way I navigate illness, physical illness now in my life. So I break these down in Warrior Sister Cut Yourself Free, The 8 stages of grief I developed and adapted are number 1, shock and denial, number 2, pain, number 3, recall, number 4, guilt and shame, number 5, anger, number 6, depression, which is anger's hangover, number 7, hope and acceptance, and number 8 is recovery. As I grew to understand the connection between dealing with trauma, fear, self-doubt, anxiety, and how the grief process opens the way for inner healing, I knew I had to put in the work if I wanted to reclaim my happiness and confidently live my best life. And yes, healing is hard work, but the alternative would be to keep living in a wounded state where we're stuck in survival mode and vulnerable to more injuries and setbacks. During my healing process after the accident, I learned another valuable lesson. First of all, I drew interesting parallels between my physical healing process and how certain stages figuratively functioned similarly as I grappled with my emotional healing, especially having to grow new, thicker skin. I learned it's not healthy for our physical body or our emotional well-being to live in a state of constant survival as we struggle to hold all the broken pieces together and expect to function like everything's okay. This isn't a sustainable way of living. This isn't living. It leads to burnout and misery. This is why my second secret to rediscovering our value and confidence is really to just get in there and wrestle with life's complexity and grit. Healing our confidence and self-value is an internal process. It really is an isolated chamber that binds us into this small little space where only we can see, feel, and sense the impact of all the things that we're going through and all the things that have happened to us. And for this reason, there are actionable steps that we can take while we're working through these struggles. First, only we can navigate our internal world. Since we're the only person who lives in this inner space, it's critical that we assess the emotional damages and repair the broken things because our quality of life depends on it. Believe it or not, simply allowing yourself to feel your emotions is critical to beginning to see and understand the messy, gritty things in our eternal world. There's no better way to do it. You just need to allow yourself to have the feelings. I know the world is constantly making you feel like you need to just get over it and suck it up and pretend it didn't happen or think about how it could have been worse and all of those messages that we get. But at the end of the day, you need to just get alone with your feelings and let them guide you. Let them see where they take you. This doesn't mean that we're supposed to stay stuck there. It just means that we're supposed to spend some time there and see what we see. Second, we must acknowledge our struggles and allow ourselves to go through the necessary grief stages to heal. This step can take several shapes. Some of the self-guided steps we can take are simply to journal about it and get it out so the heavy burden of it can be eased and we can see it from a different distance and perspective. I do exercises with my writing students and even my coaching students where I tell them the first time is just write, free write. Just write it out. Don't think about getting it perfect. Don't think about the fluidness of your thoughts. Just write it out. Now you have this psychic distance between what you've been carrying around inside as the version and the version you put on the page. Now you read this and it starts to open up your thinking in different ways. It's almost similar to, say you were observing a conversation between two people and you're sitting in the room. And then you say, okay, what if I go stand in the next room? I can still hear the voices, I can still hear them talking, but what will I notice about the conversation and not notice about the conversation if there's a wall between me and a little bit more distance between me? And then you say, I'm going to go outside and I'm going to stand on the porch and I'm going to look inside as a viewer into the situation where now I can't really hear a lot of the words that are being spoken, but I can read other body languages and other nuances and things. So I have to rely on my other senses. And then let's say I go across the street and I sit on the neighbor's porch and I'm looking through the window and I'm trying to see what's going on and make sense of the conversation. And so if we keep rewriting that same thing. Sometimes we have to write something several times before we get the story out the way we want it. And if you keep doing that and giving yourself a new perspective and a new perspective, it can be a really powerful way to show you what exactly you need to focus on, to show you what the triggers are, to show you what your areas of grief are, and all those important things. We can also seek self-help resources in the form of books, spiritual texts like the Bible, articles, TED Talks, and podcasts like this one. We can meditate and pray about it. In my own experience, I've learned to take every one of my cares and concerns to prayer and meditation. And I can't think of a single time that it didn't come back tenfold to me, that it didn't bless me in some way, give me a new insight, didn't guide me, didn't lead me into hearing someone else speak affirmingly to me in my next conversation. There are so many unlimited ways that I've benefited from that. So if you're also a faith person, you should try to do that as an earlier line of defense rather than waiting as a last resort so that you can experience the power of that singular resource in your life. We can also invite others in so that they can get better understandings of our struggles and can offer us sound advice, tools, strategy, and even support that guides our healing. This might mean that we work with a professional like a therapist, or that we seek out different science-backed therapies and/or support groups. There's lots of different support groups throughout the community. And now that we have the internet, there's even communities that you can get connected with digitally all over the world. I do have a free list of support outlets on my Rift Warrior Project blog, and I'm going to drop a link below in the show notes so that you can easily find that if you're interested. Maybe our best support will come from talking to trusted friends, family, or other people that we know and that we value their input in our lives. Again, for those of us who live by faith, we can pray for this healing and guidance. Maybe we decide to speak about our experiences, like I am here, in a more public space. We can also write and publish our experiences and stories to give voice to them and to bring them to those audiences that also may be encouraged by not only our struggles and our experiences, but those breakthroughs, how we overcome those obstacles in our life. So then, after we do those things, we must change and adapt to the new state of our internal space. Even if we mostly get all of the stuff back to how it was, something is going to be different and we're going to be changed as a result of it. This is what it means to be changed from the inside out. Here's where the butterflies come into the story. Remember all those lessons in grade school on the butterfly life cycle? Well, those butterflies weren't born into their beauty and power. They grew into them. Then they went through some important and painful processes to emerge with their warrior wings. Interestingly, the caterpillar stage in the life cycle is the most dangerous. It's where the worst things happen to it due to the weather conditions, predators, possible illnesses. It's at its most vulnerable state, kind of like we typically are when trauma strikes. The caterpillar then molts one last time before spinning itself into a chrysalis, which is similar to the cocoon that a moth creates. And here's where it undergoes tremendous changes. I should point out that the hard shell of the chrysalis is made of the caterpillar's own skin, which thickens into the very thing meant to protect it during its metamorphosis. Sound familiar? In this private, safe cell, the caterpillar wrestles with the grit and the changes it now must accept. It doesn't have a choice about whether or not it will be changed. Change is inevitable, one way or another. The same thing is true for us. It's in this private space where the hard work of renewal and restoration occurs. When it comes to the butterfly, here is where it is born and prepared to re-enter the outside world. I challenge you to see this space as the same for yourself when you're going through your own inner healing. And when the butterfly emerges, the complete metamorphosis reveals a more beautiful and powerful version of its original self. Just like the butterfly's metamorphosis, our own transformation is controlled by that internal wrestling that we do to work through the grit of our wounds and fears and undergo the tremendous changes that lead to our healing, restoration, and stronger selves. I talk about this transformation process in my self-help book, Warrior Sister Cut Yourself Free, and also in my forthcoming book, Restore Your Inner Warrior, particularly how healing and restoration happen as we navigate these 8 different grief stages. Maybe with all this emphasis on suffering through growth, this isn't the happy story you hoped for. But to me, it is a happy story. It's focused on how we emerge after we navigate the complexities and grit, and how we can let the light in enough for us to see what to fix and for others to see into the heart of our inner wounds. These are the outcomes that fill me with hope. I can relate to this wrestling match, and I can also relate to what comes after when you put in the hard, necessary work. And I'm sure you can too, which is why we're all drawn to those stories that reveal the power of the overcomer's journey, and we draw inspiration from seeing real, flawed people push through some really tough stuff. If you want to experience real restoration and live your best, most beautiful life, you have to invest in your metamorphosis. Let me say that again. If you want to experience real restoration and live your best, most beautiful life, you have to invest in your metamorphosis. You must shed the old skin to grow new, thicker skin. There's no other way around it. In the psychotherapy world, this internal positive transformation is called post-traumatic growth. In addition to this positive transformation, there's nothing more empowering than claiming your own voice to tell your story. Let's get real for a minute about the reality here. Our social media culture has it all wrong with this emphasis on only posting your Insta-perfect shots and your perfect life moments, hiding everything else from view. Nobody can see your flaws, right? You've heard the phrase, iron sharpens iron, though, right? How about faithful are the wounds of a friend? What stands out to me about both of these phrases is the sharpening process and how a blade is resharpened by similar material. It comes together and it sharpens itself as the similar material comes in contact with it. Just like we need a good, strong support network. Sometimes we need someone brave enough to share those tough experiences and stories so we know we aren't alone and that there's abundant life on the other side of those storm clouds. Sometimes the grit in our life becomes the lighthouse in another person's storm. This is because when we give voice to our struggles, it allows us to also give testimony to how we overcame them. I mean, we all find inspiration from hearing about how another person got through what we're going through right now. Maybe you'll tell your story on a stage or in front of an audience one day. Maybe you'll only tell your story to one other person and it will make all the difference in their journey. Just like I've restored my inner warrior, I hope your inner warrior is inspired to boldly navigate the same transformation in your own life. And know that what you see as your biggest defeats are often what others draw the greatest inspiration and encouragement from. In the end, the most extraordinary outcome of our hard work is when we emerge with the new, beautiful skin we grew as we navigated our healing journey with effective attention, tools, strategy, and support. If this podcast inspired you, consider leaving a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. And also, join my free Facebook community of women just like you, the Restore Your Inner Warrior Sisterhood. Here's a safe space to get tips, share stories, and find community support. Well, girl, I hope you enjoyed today's episode. If so, don't forget to follow my channel and share it with girlfriends who also want to restore their self-worth and confidence. And as you go through this day and spread your wings for the first time, may your transformed spirit, heart, and mind guide you. Catch new episodes every Tuesday and Friday. Ciao, Bella.